Welcome back to Light Beyond the Ashes, the podcast where science meets spirituality and awakening becomes embodied. I'm your host, Amber Humphrey. Today's guest is someone who bridges worlds, Lindsay Leigh, a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, spiritual advisor, and cosmic guide for mystics, entrepreneurs, and awakening souls who are ready to remember who they truly are. In this episode, we go deep, beyond the veil and into the unknown, exploring what it means to channel intergalactic beings of light, face and transmute dark entities, and rise above the collective fear that keeps so many silent about their own awakenings. This conversation is not for the faint of heart. It's for the ones who felt the call, the starseeds, the healers, the truth tellers, ready to step fully into their light and remember why they came here. Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear might just awaken a part of you that's been waiting lifetimes to remember. Welcome back to another episode of Light Beyond the Ashes. This is a very exciting episode for me. It's my first in-person episode, and it's with my dear friend, Lindsay Leigh. We actually went to high school together at Taylor High School and then reconnected many, many years later, almost 20 years later, when I was looking for a hypnotist. And so this episode, we're going to be talking about quantum healing hypnosis. We're going to be talking about channeling intergalactic beings and what it was like to wake up, especially if you don't have a huge support system that is awake. And what that was like to navigate. Welcome to the show, Lindsay. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. We finally did it. We made it happen, did it.
This has been rescheduled multiple times because life and trying to just get everything kind of squared away. But in divine timing, everything works out.
I trust him. Like, it's going to work out the way it's going to work out. I should say that about my life, but
I'm like, how can I give advice to everybody else but myself? And I'm over here panicking. I'm like, is it never going to happen? And so the fact that the stars aligned, you're here.
awesome. We're recording now. Like, the veil is so thin.
It's so thin. We got 3i Atlas is the closest it's been to the sun. And we've got all this crazy Schumann energy. And if you've made it this far into the podcast by the time this is airing, you know that this is an amazingly weird episode podcast where we talk about really fringe things that are different. And that includes intergalactic beings and interstellar objects.
Yeah.
And how it can affect the human body. So tell me a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself to the world, because not everyone knows you. And then we'll dive into your awakening.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I'm like, I always say like, I'm like, jack of all trades, master of none. Not really, but I got into it. I think as we do in our awakening, you start learning new things, you build on different skills and abilities as you grow and evolve. And I think it's maybe a natural part of life too, to like expand, your consciousness, you know. I started out in the corporate space for a while and did various roles, and then eventually left at the end of 2022. I got really burnt out. I got sick. I was dealing with some like health issues, and I remember I'd gotten COVID for the first time. And mind you, I was traveling like 3 weeks a month for this job during COVID, and I never got it until 2022. And I had known a couple months prior that like I was preparing to leave, and I didn't know exactly when, but I could feel the shift happening. And then I remember in August I got in COVID for the first time, and I took off, and I never get sick. Like, that's the thing. I have a pretty good immune system. I would never get sick. I woke up and I didn't know what was happening because I hadn't been sick since I was a kid. And I was like, oh my gosh, my head. I took one day off, and then I worked from home the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And that's how my mindset was with work back then. And I remember I sat down that Saturday for the first time with my coffee, and I sat down on the couch and I heard this message that was like, you're done, no more. And I went and gave my notice on Monday, shocked my boss. Like, the whole team was like, I'm sorry, what? And I just remember being like, if I don't do this, my body is gonna like continue to deteriorate. Like, I believe what you said, like, I'm listening.
Had you been hearing like your higher self or before this, or was this brand new for you at that time in 2020?
I don't always get messages that loud and clear, just out of the blue. But yeah, because I know we haven't even talked about my awakening. You were like, "What do you do?"
But that's just, I didn't know if you were already hearing or that's just the first time you're hearing.
No, definitely not the first time.
Okay.
And
So your boss was completely shocked.
yeah,
Wow.
and so I ended up giving I didn't leave for a couple more months. And towards the end of the year, I officially left, and then I gave myself a couple months to just rest
Yeah.
and heal, and then really leaned into starting my own business. And so I had gotten, while I was kind of resting, I had gotten certified to do quantum healing hypnosis. I love the I mean, I couldn't get enough of the Dolores Cannon books. I loved it. I was so inspired by it. And so I started building a business around the quantum healing hypnosis. I was doing some Akashic Records readings, but also like mentorship, coaching. That I worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners who were in that mindset, that had awakened, that were spiritual, and wanted somebody who not only had the spiritual background and understanding, but also understood like business and that kind of mindset. And so around 2023, I started doing that work, and here we are today.
Yeah. And I cannot believe how different your life probably is between mm, between when you had this corporate world, you're traveling, you're doing very 3D work. I'm sure it was like you was fulfilling you for a period of time.
Yeah.
Thought you enjoyed it, that you worked with and what you were doing. But then this other part of you is calling you and pulling you. And then now you're in the 5D. Now you're in like working in the other realms and you're helping people to heal in a deeply spiritual quantum way, including me and my husband Cole.
Yeah.
And like that is how we kind of
I know. Do you want to share like how we reconnect? Is so crazy, like of all the things. And
swear. Okay, so we'll definitely get back into where your awakening was because I think that's going to be a profound explanation of how you got to these gifts. But I remember I heard about hypnosis and I was like, okay, what is this really like? Am I going to go into a different type of state or am I going to be awake? Am I going to remember it? Because for me, channeling is so easy. I just like call upon my higher self. I call upon the beings of light. I protect myself in light, and I'm like, all right, I jump right in. I don't have a whole ritual or anything like that. So I knew it'd be probably easy for me. But Cole had never done anything like this. And
Cole is really like the star of the story, honestly.
towards, yeah, he really the star. And so for his birthday, I wanted to get him a reading with a hypnotist. And so I go on Yelp and I'm like, all right, like, where else do hypnotist? Google. So I go on Google, I go on Yelp, and I'll never forget it. I see this old white guy who's just looks very much not my kind of person. And I was like, no, we're not. I don't feel like it's you. His energy was just, I was very much kind of feel his energy really immediately at that point. I was like, it's not you. Keep scrolling. No, not you. I'm like, who is that? Is that Lindsay from high school? And I remember being like, click. And I clicked on your link. And then it was you looking all cute and white. And I was like, oh my God, that's my friend from high school. I mean, we didn't really talk that much in high school, but I remember I knew you.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, girl.
I'm sorry. I heard the worst laugh.
I'm like, you do hypnotisms? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to do one for real, but I think it'll be easier for me to jump in, but I'm really interested in what it's like for Cole. And so I got it for him. And then he dove right in and he was open to it, which is, he channels with me a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's not necessarily uncommon. He asks for it, and it's a really enjoyable experience to get messages from past loved ones or beings about what's coming up, what's going on. So he was used to me.
Yeah.
That's about it.
We had to have like a whole call before this because you were like, Lindsay, I need you to know that like Cole has a really difficult time accessing some of this stuff. Like it might be a struggle for him. Da, 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 da. And then he had a session, and I was like, girl, I don't know how to tell you this, but like, you gotta listen to and okay, see, I would have never known.
Like, no, you're like, I'm not sure if he's going to drop in easy. Like, if he's going to be hesitant, what it's going to be like. And so then you sent me the recording because he told me, he's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Cole's like whelmed.
Of course, always just like most. Like, it's
like,
fine.
nah, like that's just kind of how he is, right? And I was like, one day you're going to be whelmed plus. I don't know when, but one thing will be whelmed plus. And so then he hits record or hits play on the recording that you guys had done. And I'm listening. And I'm like, dude, you dropped right in. You immediately went to like when he was a child, a different, like, different phases of his life. He dropped into in his house and his family and what messages he needed to get for everything, for himself, for everyone. And I was like, holy crap. And then all of a sudden, like you're talking, you're like, oh, now we're going to transition to your higher self. And then all of a sudden, he just jumps into his higher self. And I was like, my guy, you're channeling your higher self. He's like, no, I'm just talking. I'm like, no.
And that whole time I'm talking, I'm like, be cool, be cool. And I'm like, because I take copious notes while I'm like working with clients in hypnosis. And like, I'm just like, be cool, be cool, be cool, be cool. Like, just like ask, like, keep it chill. But I'm over here be like, I can't believe he's just like jumping. Because I have clients like who can't even do that part, can't have they struggle. And it's not they struggle. It's just like kind of scary sometimes. Or you can be nervous, like blocks. Yeah. Around talking with your higher self. It's just like, I'm like,
And it was super solid. We stopped. It was like, choose love. It's like, but it was not something that he would normally have said, the things that came through, which are private. I was like, how did you do that so easily? Like, I know we all can. I say that we all can.
yeah.
But to then watch my husband, who's been on this journey with me for 3 years, be able to do it, I was like, holy crap, this is real. Lindsay, when can you get me in? 2 weeks later, and we did it. And it was just
And yours was
incredible. It was so amazing. Yeah, like the Orion thing. I told that story on Danny's episode about I went to Orion, and that's where I feel super connected to. And then in the 60s and the freedom fighter thing, I was like, I'm a freedom fighter. I fight for justice throughout all these different lifetimes. And then I jumped to my highest self, was like, I'm stepping forward now.
and I was like, yeah, girl, go. Like, okay, what you about to say?
And then it was just choosing love again and being in the light and being the frequency. And I got that from you and your gifts of guiding me through this beautiful meditation. I don't know how to say it. It's not a meditation. It's more of like, how do you explain what you do?
Yeah, I tell people who are nervous, I'm like, if you can go through a guided meditation, you can do hypnosis.
Right.
And the other difference too is people ask, well, like, why would I get an Akashic Records reading versus like do hypnosis? And I tell them that like when you are in hypnosis, it is a full body understanding. You are there, you feel it, you know it within the core of who you are. And like you experience that in yours, how people will cry or they will be scared or, or they'll be shocked or they'll be elated. And they feel that when they reconnect with that experience and that lifetime, they feel it so deeply versus me doing a reading for them. I'm sharing information, but it's coming from me. It's not coming from within you. So I think it's really great. I would say if you're not ready for hypnosis yet, a reading Akashic Records is a great start to kind of dip your toes in and like experience some past life, wisdom and knowledge that you have. But when you're ready to like really dive in and to really like know who you are at your core and feel it,
Oh, yeah.
at a real true level, hypnosis can take you there.
Have you ever done the hypnosis? Has someone hypnotized you?
Once, only once though, which is so funny because like I do this professionally. But I also, and I know you and I talked about this, like maybe it's the Scorpio in me. I do not trust just anybody to access my energy, to work on me, to do stuff like that. So, there's a part of me, it's like, yeah, let's trade, but I got to get to know you.
Yeah.
I'm not just like blindly.
We know though, like we know that energy is so incredibly powerful and needs to be protected. Like it really should be protected. And I think a lot of us have very porous boundaries when it comes to our energy. And after talking with you, I was like, oh yeah, no, I definitely like you Black says my energy too. He's aware. And so it was a good learning moment, I think, even for me as I was waking up and like, how do people like you? So then bring us back to, 2022, you're already awake. You now have your mission. 2023, you're like, I'm doing this hypnosis thing. I'm helping people in this way. It's totally different than my last life. How did you wake up?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's rewind to 2017. I was living in Austin at the time in a haunted house. I just posted a video on this. That's why everything, when you think of it from like a divine timing perspective, it just like all you can do is laugh because you're like, of course, I move into this brand new house on the east side of Austin and there's a ghost in it, like, okay. So end of 2017, I have this awakening. It's kind of a joke, but basically, like, there's this woman in Austin who does psychic reads. So I was open to that stuff before. I didn't think I had any gifts, but I just thought it was fascinating. I went to like a tarot card reader every now and then, but several people had recommended this woman in Austin. And I was like, I would love to get a read from her. So I go online and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. I was like, I don't know. And then I saw she had written a book. And I was like, you know what? Scorpio me. I will read her book.
I can afford that.
Connect to, and see if I connect with her. And then if I do, I will pay to get a reading from her. And the joke is that book triggered my spiritual awakening. And I, like the universe is like, aha, you think You're just going to be reading a book. Uh, and it was like, I say that it was like the scales fell from my eyes and I started to look at the world in a completely different way. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned is when I was a kid, I had a lot of abilities. So I could like manipulate electromagnetic frequencies. I could change radio stations just with my energy. Like I had all sorts of, I had dreams about the future. I heard voices. I've heard people talk about this, and it was interesting because mine felt like there was a dinner party going on in my head and I could turn the volume up and down. I would see things. But the biggest thing was I was terrified at night. Now I don't know if I have um what do you call 'em, like, suppressed or repressed memories from something, like, that happened to me when I was a kid, but I try to explain to people, like, when I said, like, I was scared to at night, like, I thought I was going to die every night. Like, that's how I was terrified to go to sleep by myself as a little kid, because I would wake up and see things. I would wake up and see things coming out of my closet. I didn't know what to do. I also had some, like, pretty terrifying nightmares. And it was just a lot. Like, when you're hearing these things, you're seeing things, nobody teaches you as a little kid how to go through that.
Because kids are so easy to actually, they're not programmed yet, so they can see things, can feel things. My youngest sees and feels.
Yeah.
And nighttime is very and scary for her.
It's just so scary. And so I remember, gosh, Oprah raised me. I was a latchkey kid. So, like, I would come home, make a snack, and, like, watch Oprah and that. And, yeah. Oprah girl, you don't even know how many people she's like, you heard some of you are still outside or all your children. I learned so many things from her. But I remember she had like a guest on. It was something spiritual, and they basically said like, you can turn this off. Like, you don't have to have these gifts or something. And so I remember I was crying on my bed and I had my knees up to my chest. I just remember saying over and over again, I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. Like, take it away. I don't want this, because I was so tired of being so scared all the time, and having nothing to do like with y- like I didn't know what to do with it. So it mostly shut off, and I could still feel sometimes at night if things were in there, but I didn't really see anything anymore. And it had pretty much shut down. And I went about my life. Yeah. And then 2017, everything started coming back again when like I had that awakening. And it was so funny because it was like, at first, it was like being in bliss.
Yes, it always is. Those first few months were just like,
Yes, the first few months were just like bliss. Like, this is so silly, but I remember like I started cooking with butter again. And I was such a health like I was like, butter's bad, dairy's bad, da, 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 all this stuff. And like I was like, and then I remember thinking like I just felt so like just blissful and like luxurious in my energy and everything. And I just remember like something silly like I just started cooking with butter again. I still cook with butter to this day. Um, but it was that first few months that was just like full of bliss. And then I started feeling things again and I started sensing things again, and I didn't really know what to do. And I remember I was in this house. House was only like 2 years old at the time, and but in East Austin. So obviously, like there was a house on there before, like it had been like rebuilt or whatever. And I remember I would like wash my face, and I have this thing that gets triggered, and I'd be curious if like anybody else feels this. I've come to realize that like when things are in my energy field that shouldn't be there, my heart will feel like it's about to like burst out of my chest. And I would be washing my face, and all of a sudden that would happen. I'm like, what's going on? And then I'd be in my living room, and the living room, there's stairs are in the living room. I like behind me, I could feel like there was something at the top of the stairs, and I would look and there's nothing there. And then one night, I remember I'm like laying on my side, and I wake up and I look, and there is a man standing next to my bed staring at me. He has that like Caesar kind of haircut.
yeah.
He has a long like line, like a forehead line, and he has like pronounced sort of like eyebrows or whatever. I call them like Cro-Magnon kind of looking. He had like very strong features. He was wearing a camel colored like cable knit sweater, baggy jeans, kind of like this. And he was just staring at me. And I remember being like, I just remember saying to myself, no, And I just roll over because I always said, like, I'm not engaging in this. Like, I'm not believing this because at that time, even though I had been in bliss and all this stuff, I had not like allowed myself to step into the world of that, whatever that was. Yeah, I wasn't there yet. And I was like, whatever, I'm not dealing with this. So then a little while later, I all of a sudden wake up and there are 4 shadow figures in biblical clothing at the end of my bed. And I start screaming. I remember I start screaming like, no, 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 no. And I jump because I always say, like, again, like little kid me is like, turn on the lights. And I remember I like leaped over and like turned on my lamp and I ran into my bathroom and I just started crying because I was like, are they good? Are they bad? What is this? Like, what if he's mid? All this stuff. And that was when I finally was like, I need help. I'm an adult now and I can take ownership of my gifts and my awakening and what's going on. And I need to understand what's going on because I don't want to live in fear anymore. Little Lindsay was terrified all the time. I don't have to be that way anymore. So I started working with a mentor. Actually, I worked with a couple. I worked with 2 main ones. And love them. Best experience of my life. They helped me understand. It's so funny now because one of my first mentors, I used to like think she was just like, she's so sweet. She's like, kind of has like Glinda the Good Witch energy, like just some, hi, sweetie. But she could tap into what I was experiencing. She saw what I saw. And I was like, I don't know how this woman does that. And now I do it. And it's wild to see like how far you've come in a reflection to like that experience, but they were lifesavers to me. Another woman that I worked with, she worked with the Akashic records, so we did kind of some like coaching and also development through the records, which was really fun. But Karen was my first like real mentor, and she was like a lifesaver. She's like the most incredible. She's I like will never be able to like thank her enough for the way that she helped guide me through it. Because I felt like I did so much of it alone, it was back then, we didn't have like TikTok and we didn't have all these supportive, places to go. I just felt like, okay, read a book, try and talk to other people. Nobody in Austin that Google it. Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you anything.
Yeah, and nobody, like, when I was in Austin, none of my friends, we were all just normies. Like, even to this day, I remember I moved and I came back and they all sat me down and they were like, you got to tell us what's going on because we didn't know any of this. And I was like, oh, sorry. Because so I felt like I was navigating it alone. I felt like I was seeing things and I was just, and I wasn't married. I was living alone. Like, it was just me.
Mm.
And that's really scary. And so, it was, through that support with like mentors that I think like really helped me get through it. And also why I'm so dedicated, like through my whole life, even in corporate, whatever, I was always like wanting to create things that I needed and never got. So whether it was resources or tools, that's kind of a lot of the way that like my practice has evolved is like giving people tools and education and support. Want to give them what I didn't get.
Exactly. And I think that's for me why I do the regulation side. It's because as an occupational therapist, I weren't regulating humans, but when I was waking up, I was so incredibly dysregulated because you feel everything. Not only are you experiencing this crazy new world where you can see and hear and feel and know things. You're like, how the hell do I know this stuff?
Yeah.
What am I doing? What is happening to me?
Yeah. Yeah. And just like
Jarring to the nervous system. And I tell everyone, I think the key to surviving a spiritual awakening is regulating your nervous system. Because when you can regulate your nervous system, then you can be present. Then you can be in the now moment. I could be your 0 point. You can actually access your highest self versus being distracted by the entire world and your emotions and numbing from whether that be drugs, alcohol, your work, your social media, just isolating from what you really need to work through.
Yeah.
And I think that I haven't talked to anybody about what the Akashic records are yet. So I think that'd be a really good thing because people might be like, okay, she said Akashic. What the heck is that? Sure. So what is the Akash or the Akashic records?
It's so interesting, like being in this space for a little while now, like how we describe the Akashic records and how it's really evolved over time as we collectively elevate consciousness, it gives us more access to higher dimensional information. So in the early days, I used to just tell people like think of the Akashic records as like a library, and each soul has their own record, like a book. And we can open that book and it has all of the information of all past lives, potential future lives, and your current life, even from every breath you breathe. That's the level of detail you can get out of that. Now we're starting to evolve and understand that this is actually like a and like can't use my words, but like a oh my gosh, I'm using like I keep wanting to say threads, and I'm sure people like screaming and they're like, it's this. Um I'm not Italian, but I still talk with my hands. But it's essentially like a dimension or like a thread. Oh my gosh, I can't use my right words, but it's all right. But where we can access like everything about ourselves. It's such an informational tool. So like if you're trying to figure out where a certain pattern or karmic wound or something comes from, you can see that. I've been able to like look at, so when we're working through our karma, I look at it like a sphere. You're experiencing all aspects of it as a part of your soul's development. So in one lifetime, you will be the persecutor, and in another lifetime, be the persecuted, because you need to experience both sides. And that's why, so one of the things in my awakening that I got really into was soul development. So I was like reading books on soul development and soul evolution and all that stuff. And I think that's also why older souls have the capacity to understand more sophisticated and um like ways of being here, where like we all feel like we are all connected. Like no one should go hungry. No one should understand that. But you might not understand or have that depth of feeling within you had you not had all those experiences prior. So at one point in our soul's evolution, we weren't as adept at understanding that wisdom. But so many of us now are awakening, and we've had those experiences in such a robust way that it allows us innately to connect with that deeper aspect of, safety and helping others and the greater good.
So can every single person access their Akashic records? They need someone else to be a conduit of that. How do you tap into the Akashic record?
Absolutely. So when I first started, I needed somebody to do it for me. And then over time, that was my first true intentional foray into channeling, was the Akashic records. They're my OGs, group that I worked with. And I love that. But yeah, some people who maybe don't feel like they're ready might work with somebody, or just it's not in something they choose to learn. And so they might just want to work with somebody to help do an Akashic records reading with them. But we can all access our own Akashic record. Okay. Everyone has access. And like, I can't access your record without your permission. So like, you can always access your record, but we're not diving into other people's records without their explicit permission.
I think that consent is such an incredibly important thing.
Yes.
Because when you're talking about telepathy, you're talking about channeling and being able to access higher dimensional realms, there is a huge, huge need to discuss consent and boundaries,
100%.
and protection and energetic protection. Because like, I don't know, we were talking about it already, but for me, I did not know how to protect myself in those early days. And like with the house that you experienced, like it elicits a lot of fear, right? And I've had, in the episodes that have already aired, talked about how I've had some dark things happen to me. And when you wake up and you are too porous and you do not know how to protect your energy or clear your energy, and you become like a conduit of all of it, and you don't know how do I say it? The truth of the nature of what we're walking through in this world, right? Like there is light and there is dark. There is contrast of energy that cares about you and wants you to do well. And there's energy that wants to siphon from you. And that comes in systems, that comes in control, manipulation, from narcissists. It comes from a lot of different places, not just supernatural. Like energy harvesting is such a real thing, right? Being in servitude to your job and not having work-life balance, like that is a way that sucks your life force energy. But for me, it was very supernatural what I was walking through. And I didn't know you when I was going through that. I kind of wish I would have.
Girl, you would be what?
I wish that I had somebody in the real world here in Houston that I could relate to. Instead, I found TikTok.
Yeah.
And on TikTok, I was like following other people. And I remember when this really crazy, scary one happened with Cole and I. And it's like,
you told me about this. I know you're talking about.
I think it's the only one I've ever really, truly recorded. Like other people, they're present for the things that have happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's insane. But this one was like me, my husband, and the children at like 11 o'clock at night. And I had done my very first like tarot card reading back in early 2023, like probably April of 2023. And I was like really curious. I'd just woken up. I was like, I want to know more. I'm following you online. Um, and it was this chiropractor who, she then turned into an awakened person who was doing readings. And she was like, you have a really dark energy that's like trying to take you down. And I was like, oh, you have no
Yeah,
idea.
I actually, like I'm quite aware of the energy and who and what you're talking about.
And she's like, it's coming after you really hard. And I was like, okay. And so this is like where people can have dark attachments and also not know that they have a dark attachment.
Like psychic projection.
Yes.
Sorry, what is it? Yeah, psychic attacks.
Yeah, psychic attacks, right. And so here I was just like, la-di-da-di-da, did a reading. What a great day. And then come that night, I started feeling the physical side of everything. It was on my body and I heard my body being like pulled and like, I felt like writhing and it was very uncomfortable. And it did not feel like Kundalini. It did not feel like light activation, which I've had light activations and my body does these things and I'm now accustomed to it. I'm like, oh, I'm just
Like, yeah.
pounded with light right now in my heart space. I know what this is. It feels good. It was a sinking feeling and a creeping up feeling. And I remember being afraid and I texted the person. We still actually saw my number and like before she had deleted it. And I was like, here's what's happening. And she just started speaking, like, I think she started speaking Latin over me. I'm not even going to lie. And so I'm with my AirPods in, I'm like regurgitating what she's saying. And she's like, try to find a cross of some sort. I was like literally. And like, seriously, my uncle Barney was, that's his real name. My uncle Barney was an Episcopalian priest and I just gotten some jewelry and I got a ruby cross and I was like a silver and ruby cross and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I was like, Cole, go look for the cross. I didn't have Palo Santo. I didn't have sage. I didn't have anything. I was raw dogging this moment. I was like, what am I going to do? And come to find out that cross was sitting right next to me.
Oh yeah, it doesn't right you. Yeah, it doesn't like. I know that's so funny. I don't know, scary. Like I love. Yeah, and it's like that was always something that was like very confusing to me in my spiritual awakening when people would be like, I just stay in the light. I'm like, girl, oh, boy, whatever.
I live in the dark.
But I was also like, you literally incarnated in a 3D dimension with contrast. Like,
Yeah.
there is light and dark. Like you can avoid it all you want. There is duality and you can avoid it all you want, but it is what it is. And from my experience and the darkness I seen, because I too, so like, seen entities that were like, I actually got to a point where I had to work with somebody to learn how to clear them. Now it's a service that I offer people because of my experience being like, I want to help people to be able to clear attachments and entities. It's not something I talk about a lot. It's not even on my website. A lot of times it's just something that comes up as needed because it can feel scary. And like, I think when you learn more and more and understand the deeper mechanisms behind it, it's less scary.
Yeah.
But I cleared entities from homes, off of people, like all sorts of stuff. It's real. It's a real thing. So real. It's a real thing. I'm like, what was I gonna say about that? But yeah, oh my gosh, the ghost in the house. Yeah. So when I was moving, okay, so I saw this gentleman, whatever. I could feel him, but I didn't know what to do. Like that's the thing is like we feel so powerless because we don't know what to do. Like, okay, there's this ghost in my house. I had one of my friends in New Hampshire. I had to clear an entity that was terrorizing her kids. That story is insane for another day. Oh my gosh, that was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. But we cleared it and it's fine. Everything's fine. But you sit in your house and like, what do I do? Like, how do I get rid of? You just have to sit in like the fear a little bit of just like knowing. Anyway, so I have a reading with Karen. I'm literally packing up to move out of this house to move back to Houston, and she goes, "Okay, honey. Well, she's like, are you moving?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And she goes, "Well, sometimes when we're like moving things around and we're packing things up, it can shift and stir up a lot of energy. And there is a gentleman, his energy has attached itself to like, I think like your liver or like some organ," she said, like, "but it's on this side of you." And but I'm gonna go ahead and remove him. So all I want you to do right now is just like take some breath. And I'm like, sitting like, I'm sorry, what? What? And on top of that, I saw this guy's face in a meditation. Like he was just popping up all over the place. And I was like, but you don't know what to do. No. Anyways, but that was my like, she said he liked my energy so much that he didn't want me to move. And so and she's like, he's not bad. He just like doesn't want your belief. And I was like, well, I'm Leah. And so like, but she cleared him for me. And I just remember it was one of those funny things where you're like, I don't know if I really want to believe this stuff yet. And then she goes up and is like, so you have this ghost as like attached itself to you. And you're like, you can't deny it anymore. And you're like, okay, peace out. Like, this is my going away gift.
Did you feel peaceful after like?
No, I felt so freaked out. She's like, don't think about it. Don't you want to give any energy to it? All I did was like, think about it and give energy to it. It's so funny. I was like, don't care. I care. But nowadays, but yeah, so it was a long evolution, but like, I mean, I remember, I mean, besides, this would be like a whole separate podcast, but I mean, I've seen all sorts of things. I also don't like mirrors. The one night I moved into my new house and I put a floor length mirror in my room. I had an entity astral project into my house and it was cloaked and I could see under the cloak. And I had never experienced anything like that before. I was so freaked out because it was not friendly at all. And I was like, what the fuck is this COVID doing in my room? And the next morning I texted my mentor, another mentor of mine, to be like, Kip thinks, because that was the message I was getting, was like, this is a cloaked being. So I was like, okay. So then I like sent my awareness and I like looked under the cloak and I was like, oh my gosh, what I saw. And then I was like, oh my God, it was really scary looking. And anyways, fun story is in January, this is several years later, in January, a TikTok creator was going through different galactic beings and I saw the one that was in my room. I was getting messages that did not make sense. And I was like, I don't understand. That like does not compute to me. And then she was like, and here's the blah, blah, blah. I don't even want to talk about which one it was. But when she shared it, I was like, oh my gosh, that was what was in my room. And they are not supposed to be on Earth. And that's why it was probably astral projected, but they're not supposed to be on Earth. Like they're banned from Earth. And I was like, and it's still to this day, like just freaks me out. But not freaks me out, but it's just like, it's wild, the capacity for like what is possible. Because I think a lot of times in our awakenings, we like to get really rigid on like, this can happen, this can happen. I was told this information, so this, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Huh.
Yeah.
So much is possible.
Well, you just touched on something that I really wanted to talk about is your connection to intergalactic.
Look at that segue.
I love how the stars align. Because I also channel with intergalactic beings of light, and how you do it and how you talk about it and like your skills, I think are just high level from all of you I've met.
Yeah.
It's spectacular. So tell the world what it's like and what you do when you're channeling these intergalactic beings and how that can even happen.
Yeah. Well, first off,
That seems kind of like unbelievable, right? Like, are we crazy? I promise I'm lucid.
oh, yeah. And it's an evolution. Like a lot of people are like, how do you even know who's in the room? Like, how do you know you're talking to? And I'm like, well, 3 or 4 years ago, I couldn't. Like, it's for me, it was something that as my gifts have evolved and expanded and grown and deepened, I have more and more clarity and understanding. And that's possible for everybody, I think, to grow in their gifts. It's not like a light bulb one day and you just stay that way forever. You keep working at it. And I actually, going kind of back to, I meant to talk about this, but one of the things that I do is I teach practitioners. I teach people how to develop their gifts. And I'm very, one of the biggest things that I talk about is having good clearing and protection, learning how to do that, having good boundaries, understanding that your words matter, being very clear and intentional, and how you work with beings you want to connect with when you're using your psychic or mediumship abilities. That was something that as you struggled with because you didn't know and found out the hard way, I did as well. And I was really tired of seeing these very irresponsible practitioners telling people things that they could do or should do or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, no. And it's not that we need to fear it. It's just like, you're disempowered because you're not stepping into your power when you are playing with this type of energy or experience this or learning whatever. You're not in your power. You're literally you're like a little kid playing with. You're exposed. Yeah, you're exposed. And so I'm like, I don't want that. I want people to feel empowered with their gifts because there is a lot of fear around stepping into your gifts. A lot of fear around channeling. And I think what you described earlier about how you connect now, that is exactly what you should be doing.
Yeah.
There is a process that you should be doing before you open up your channel, because it's not like we need to be in fear, but immature beings can also influence your channel. And when I mean immature, like not bad, just like little goofballs, you know? And
It can kind of deceive you. It can tell you things that you think you want to hear, but it's not necessarily with your discernment, which we'll come back to later. But it's like, it's important to be aware of what you're interacting with.
Exactly. And being clear on like who you want to interact with. I very much teach that there used to be a time and like, especially like people would come to me for a reading or something and be like, okay, like what's your goal? Why are you here today? And like, I don't know. I just like anything, whatever wants to come through. And I'm like, absolutely not. We need to, I really encourage everybody to just think about, do you really want to be open to anything that wants to come through? Like, do you want to do that? I don't know if you do. And that's your choice. You have free will, but I'm very big on like being intentional. So my channeling experience, I think we were talking off air was, or maybe I said this, ADHD over here, or else I know I'm like, we're squirrels and I love it. Squirrels. Was the Akashic Records. So that was the first time I had really consciously chosen to like guide into channeling was the Akashic Records. And then over time, it's like things just kind of became more and more unlocked. And I started to realize like, oh, I can channel. I can channel. And then it got to the point where it was like, like I could just be like, I could just, whoever I wanted to, I was like, oh,
He's turning a channel.
yeah, like a dial. And I was like, okay, Yeshua, okay, the Pleiadians, okay, Arcturians. But then sometimes groups would like just make themselves known to me like the Arcturians did. So the 4-man biblical clothing,
Yeah.
Arcturians. They were actually Arcturians, Arcturian guides. Oh, and I didn't even tell you, I started speaking Hebrew after they showed up. It was,
Sorry, what?
I know. No, it's like, I'm telling you guys, like the stories, it's like not enough for one podcast.
You'll be on again. You have to. No, I'm like, what are they going to go do? World needs more.
But and that took me a while to understand because at that time I really wasn't exposed to like galactic beings. So they showed up, I think, to remind me of the connection where we've been together. And they called themselves the Brotherhood. And there were a couple of like words in Hebrew that they shared with me. And I thought I was speaking gibberish. Like I'm not Jewish. I don't speak Hebrew. You know, it was, and I literally Googled, I'm like, am I making these words up? And I was like, oh, this is Hebrew. Like, what is going on? It was just like insane. So, you know, you have these experiences that make no sense. And then later on, so then when I was more expanded and understood more around these, and that was a couple of years later, like these galactic beings, the Arcturians for me always show up as blue. And for a while they had I used to joke that they had this very like excited Labrador retriever energy with me where they were like, let's talk. This is so fun. Yes. How can I help you? And they were very like scientifically minded. We were talking about DNA and like mirrors and like all these other different things. And so I would like sit and like channel. I'm actually left-handed, but I do my right hand. And so it evolved and I would just keep working with them. And then Archangel Michael started to come into the picture. That's a whole other crazy story. He's my primary or my main guide.
He's a fan a lot.
And I didn't even realize that's who it was for years until like later on. And then I was like, that was you the whole time? Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I work with angelics as well, the angelic realm. And then, yeah, the Arcturians just crack me up. I love them so much. They're great. And then Pleiadians I work with a lot. They're the way that all these different groups channel in feels subtly different. Do you feel like that?
Oh, yeah. No, they feel they're like, I have some channels because I listen to them. I record everything. Not every single channel, but I record a lot of channels. And then I also write. But when I'm writing, I also hear the personality types are different. Like Yeshua, when Yeshua is channeled through me, it is just this like pure love. And it's oneness. And it is so beautiful and it's different. And people feel when I like read it on TikTok, people feel that connection.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, the felt like Jesus was talking. And I was like, I know it was. So, you know, but then when I have the Arcturians, the Pleiadians or the Orions, like some of them are more logical sounding, more like Cole can probably attest to this too. Like sometimes they'll sound like my accents will actually change. I'll have more when Sophia Christ will kind of come through. It's very mothery and it's almost like sounds like a little bit not British, because Cole's like, no, you don't sound British. Yeah, but it doesn't sound like me at all.
Yeah.
It's very nurturing and gentle. And then when it is, sometimes it'll say all, like I'll like sign off all, and it just feels like everyone is like giving me this message. And it's just from all of us, the cosmic brotherhood, sisterhood. This is for everyone to hear, but they definitely have different energy signatures. And when I'm speaking through them, like Orexum has come through me before, and another woman on TikTok will talk to her as well. And I'm like, I never knew this name before, but I hear it. And then Bashar has channeled to me, and like my hands will do the things that I see, Daryl Anka doing.
Yeah, sure.
And like I sound more like black and white sometimes versus more gentle and like so I tell you, it changes. And then Cole's like, I don't really like Bashar. He's kind of like a lot. And he's just very direct. And it's not bad. It's different than softening. And sometimes it asks questions in a softer way than more direct. Had you experienced like the tone is a whole different.
Tone is different. And my voice, I used to do these like channeled energy forecasts for a while. And I would get onto Instagram Live and like do a channel. Or sometimes it was Zoom. It was like kind of dependent. And I would do like a live channel energy forecast. And I remember in the beginning, I feel like my voice would change a little bit, but now it doesn't. It's just like, but I can feel them. So like, and I would channel a lot more different groups. Now I'd kind of like zoomed in on like primary ones that I want to work with more and more. I have a funny Orion story for you that I need to like put up and about it. Yeah. That's super short, but I think it's kind of funny. But like, for example, when I'm working with the Pleiadians, it's very stream of consciousness. Like I have to be focused on my writing or I could miss it. Like I have to be like locked in and like it's very stream of consciousness. The Arcturians crack me up because it's like they give me a ball of information and it's like above my head and like it's like I'm pulling, almost like a packet of DNA. Like it's like in a sphere and there's all this information that they're giving me and then I'm channeling it through, and as I'm writing, I'm just like pulling the information out of the sphere, and I'm channeling it all out, and and then like I'll literally be like, oh, and I'll like stop and like text message somebody back, and then I put my phone over here on the side of the couch, and then I come back, and then I come back, and I'm just like still like, I can't do the Akashic records, are like stream of consciousness. So that's something also I've noticed is like the way in which the information is channeled through is also different, and the speed and the way that it's sort of packaged in a way is interesting. But it's really fascinating.
Yeah, it is fun. And I think that there was, I've talked to different people who are awake in different ways, right? Some people are awake, but they're still very religious and they have some of those deeply held religious beliefs. And I don't discount anyone's spiritual experience because if you're finding peace, then good for you. Yeah. But I will say that I was told that Reiki was evil and that what I was doing was evil. And I remember being like, Cole can attest to this. So we went to Barnes and Nobles with our kids to get books. And I was just like in my head, I was like, how can something that gives me so much peace and has healed me and it's healing other people, and when I put my hands on them, I'm a conduit of love and a conduit of this energy. How can any of this be evil? Because I think there's this programming that's within us that if you're not going to a church or talking to a priest, then there's something that you're doing that's wrong.
Yeah.
And this is programming, right? Because when Yeshua walked earth, he said the kingdom of heaven lives within you. And it's a state of being. It's a frequency. It's a vibration frequency of authenticity, of genuine love for yourself and for all others, forgiveness for yourself and all others. And when you reach this vibrational frequency, you can access higher dimensional thoughts, higher dimensional beings, and you won't weaponize it. You won't use it to hurt people. But there was this like voice in the back of my head of what will people think about me if I come out. So that's why it's taken so many years for me to be doing this podcast and like actually sharing my channels. I'll share them in writing, but like to share the recordings, it's something I'm about to step it to. And it's like, it feels like a really brave step for me because it's a last little fragment of fear of feeling like someone's going to call me schizophrenic. I'm crazy because religious persecution, or I'm blasphemous because you prophesy. I'm like, I'm just tapping into a frequency of what happens to be the future. And I'm seeing it very clearly. And I'm sharing with you ahead of time. And now we all have free will and it could change. But this is what I'm seeing. And over the course of the last 2.5, 3 years, I've seen these things over and over and over to come to life. Have you walked through or experienced people thinking what you're doing is demonic or what you're doing is evil or wrong and that you should go see a priest?
Like not even other people, like myself, like so much self-hate, so much self-loathing that like because I grew up in the church. I grew up Southern Baptist. I worked. I
Go to
was
church too, me too.
Yeah, man, that was my last after working in a church. There was a lot of like, even as a kid, that like there were just some basic logical principles that I'm like, that just like doesn't make sense. But I always would like beat myself and be like, I would beat myself up and be like, just why can't you like it? Why can't you be like them? Why can't you just like be as good as them? Why can't you like for years? I mean, I went to college in the Bible Belt. Like I tried so hard and I couldn't feel it at my core. There was something about it. There was something about the hypocrisy too, about so much of it and the way people were treated. I was like, it just like didn't make sense. And then when I read that book in 2017, it was filled with so much love. And it also talked a little bit, it was my first intro into soul evolution and soul development. And it helped me to see why some people, it's really important as a part of their soul level, where they're at in their development, to be a part of an organized religion. That's really helpful and supportive for them. But old souls usually don't need that anymore. Their consciousness has expanded to a level that they don't necessarily need that. But it doesn't mean it's bad. We were probably there at one point too, and so we have compassion. So that helped me immensely to relinquish this desire to live up to my parents' expectations and other friends, and feeling like I was the bad one because I couldn't just like get into the cult. Like I just couldn't get into it enough, and realizing that like, no, it's really like my soul craves something in a different capacity, and the people who are really aligned with organized religion, that's beautiful for them too, but yeah, I do, the deeper I've studied, the more I've grown, the more I've experienced, I'm able to receive that type of feedback in a very different way, and it's much less combative. I even have I have these small group programs where I'm teaching practitioners or just helping people develop their psychic and intuitive abilities. And I've had people who've specifically come in and told me, working with you helped me understand how to understand and work with my abilities and gifts while also being in the church. Because it's not about religion. This isn't about organized religion. And it really helped them to see more of their authentic self, and also allowed them to still be, devoted and connected to their church and their organized religion. And so that's what I hope to really experience, is to let people be whatever they want to be and grow, in the direction that feels most aligned for them. I'm not here to control anybody. I'm just here for you to grow. But yeah, the religion and people saying my gifts and abilities, it's in you're more in the public sphere right now than I am. I would it's a lot easier to say shitty things to you when you're behind a phone than to say it to your face. Um, and so I was lucky in the sense that I didn't get it as much. Um, and then, and my circle now is, more like you.
So curated. My circle now is curated and it is divinely guided. And I have met soul family that, I mean, obviously we picked each other to come here and find each other in this time. And I think it's so poetic that you and I literally grew up. I remember I was just telling Cole, I was like, I knew Lindsay, like I knew your face in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade at like Memorial Parkway of the Taylor High School. And I was like,
and we just like had
or even that. It was like, I knew you and then I didn't know you and I'd see you. And like, I was like, you're a popular girl. I don't know.
It's so funny. I was like, I don't have any brands.
So funny. Like, it's all about perception, right? Reality is based on perception. So when I saw your name, I was like, A, is she going to like know who I am? Because I definitely know who she is. And then when we went and we have lunch over at Bella Green, it was like, oh my God, where have you been met them? I think we were at that Bella Green for like 3 or 4 hours in that booth. And then we went to another restaurant another time. I was like, we're closing this place down. Like,
they're like, get out here.
Yeah. And like my bladder's bursting. I'm like, but I can't stop talking. I love talking to you because A, I don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And I don't feel crazy.
Yeah, it's huge.
And it was just so validating to know that there was someone else from Katy, Texas that has these really cool, amazing gifts and experiences. And they are navigating this and you're finding your voice and you're finding your place in this world. And it hasn't been easy. And we've struggled deeply. Like I've struggled deeply. I have a very harsh, truly and you have had a hard life in different ways, right? And it's manifested differently. But when I was at my breaking point of like, I cannot do this anymore. And we just talked about how you said you just had your last big mentee B, the mental breakdown on Tuesday. It's like, I remember being so desperate and calling out to God, be like, when the hell is it my turn? When is it going to get better? You keep telling me that one more day, you're so close. Like, what is that like when you do have the gifts and you know what's coming? You can feel the energy shifting. We know as a collective on Earth, humanity is waking up to the truth of what was always been here, but we've been deceived. What is it like when all you have is you and this inner voice?
It's funny. I've thought about this a lot because you think about psychic readings and you think about timelines and you think about like soul contracts and like choosing to incarnate right now for a specific reason, all those things. And sometimes I think for so many of us, it can be like almost worse in a way because you're like, well, I still signed up for this. I'm here to do these basic. I feel deeply that this is my path, but why is my life completely falling apart? Like this year for me has been like a survival year. Like very much, I think I know you have experienced some similar stuff, but it's like it's a wild experience to like to have this inner voice and to be like, I know I made the decisions based on alignment and based on where I know I'm supposed to go, but why is everything falling apart right now? Like I was telling you earlier when we were talking about my mentee B that like I went home on Tuesday night and I was like, are you really on a spiritual journey if you're not on your knees screaming at the void and crying, you know? That's what I think people think is like the spiritual awakening. Yeah, first months are bliss and then literally so much of my life started to after, oh my gosh, that's so nuts. I'm just thinking about March of 2018. Like so much of my life, so many things have fallen away, fallen apart, crumbled, been revealed, family secrets, family, like just so many things since then. And it's really, really hard to bear sometimes because it's no longer just an isolated event. It's no longer like my life sucks, I'm trying to survive. It's like there's a deeper meaning now behind it. What am I healing? What is falling away that no longer serves me? What is the bigger meaning, the soul? Like what karmic experience am I healing and learning and grow? So it's like it helps because you understand there's a greater meaning for it. It doesn't make it any less painful. But sometimes like for me, I know when I was saying earlier about how I was like, I know, like I'm not mad at myself that I made these decisions. Like old me would have been like, you made these decisions and it didn't turn out the way that you thought it was going to turn out. So you made a mistake. And now I'm like, I didn't make a mistake. I know deep in my heart, those were the decisions that like were in alignment for me. And it also led me to a mentee B. Well, these things can be true because of the, like, you were literally going back to your nervous system regulation piece. Like, I joke that, like, back in 2018 or 2017, people would be like, feel into your body. And I was, like, so disconnected from my body that I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm hungry. That's, like, all. I have no idea if you really feel into your body. I was like, what does that mean? Yeah, I don't understand. And now, like, I understand so much more, but I understand what it's like for people who are new to this space to be, like, given this, like, spiritual jargon. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Oh, I just think this is the real truth. Like, this is the authentic truth of what it's like to wake up. Yes, it's beautiful in the beginning. We've talked about that with a lot of these other people we've talked on the interview on the podcast. We've said when we first woke up, it was like blissed out and you're beautiful and like you're just like high on life. Or you're sober, but you're just like, oh, look at the green of the blades of grass, right? And then you're like, we're all one. And then all of a sudden, you're like, am I a walking, talking tower moment? Why is everything crumbling around me? People hate me. Why are people so like opposed to my energy? What am I doing wrong? Like, and then you just finally get to the point eventually, after a lot of dirty to the soul. You don't have one awakening, you have multiple awakenings. When you finally get to where you and I believe are, is we know that all those things have to fall away for us to find our true alignment, for us to find our true soul purpose, soul mission, and our soul tribe. And their density. It's density in lessons. Yeah. Because in the lessons, I learned power. And the lessons I learned my voice. And the lessons I learned how to heal, like deep, deep parts of myself that I hid from, you know, the world and myself. And there's liberation. When you finally remember that you're softer, you're free. When you finally remember that we really want and that you're a fractal of me, I'm a fractal of you, and I see a mirror in me and mirror you. Like when you finally get to this point in life, you're like, I think I'm ready to surrender. I'm real tired. Yeah, I think I'm just going to let go of the reins here and I'm going to just be in a river of life and I know and flow where I'm supposed to go. And this is the peace that I find in this last week. And I keep telling my friends, I can't stop crying for gratitude. Like I cried on the way here listening to a song by King called I Made It. And it's like, I was always held. I was always going to be okay. But nothing in my environment was showing. And like the financial instability, the emotional instability, the psychological, physical instability, the pain, all kinds of pain. Yeah. Abandonment, not feeling understood, feeling like people are going out of their way to mischaracterize and misrepresent you. And you're like, why? Your woman loved you. Why are you hurting me? And then you're like, well, I guess that's what we signed up for. Yeah, it is a really hard pill to swallow.
Well, and I can so much of it now too is realizing that it's never been about you. Like we take on people's projections because we care so deeply, but a lot of times it's like, no, they're just projecting their stuff onto you. Like this was never about you. So when people are like, "Oh, you're doing the devil's war of your sin," I'm like, sounds like a personal problem. Like, sorry if I sound like terrible, but I'm like, sounds like a personal problem. I'm right away through that one. Like I mean, if that's what you feel, like, okay, but like, sounds like a personal problem. Like, oh my gosh, you want to talk about my character? Wow, what a mirror back to you. Sounds like a personal problem. Like that's kind of like where I'm at now. Is it hurts. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it still hurts. You feel it. But then when you kind of like move through that emotion, you're like, oh man, that like, I can't imagine being like a troll on TikTok or on social media. You know what I mean? I can't imagine they're like people are they just bots. Yeah, I think a lot of them are bots, but like people who aren't, like I've even listened to podcasts where like this guy like tracked down like one of his trolls and talked to him and he was just like, I don't know, I was just in a really bad time in my life and did it. And it's just like, it's fascinating to me. I'm like, that's where you want to put your energy. Like, I couldn't even like, I'm not much of, you know this about me, like, I'm a voyeur a lot on social media. I'm not like big in commenting on a lot of stuff. Like, if I comment on your stuff, like, it's usually like anybody's, like, it's a big deal and whatever. But it's wild to me that people would post negative comments on other people's stuff. Like, that just like, again, that's like a does not compute moment. It's like, why are you wasting your energy on that? Just don't say anything at all. It's like grass. Yeah, like, go touch grass. You don't even know me. Like literally, this is like social media is not real. Like it's like just a place to go, but like you don't even know like what is happening. But it's wild to me like to think of people who I can be so negative. Like what a mirror.
Yeah, what a mirror. And honestly, when your light shines onto other people, it shines light to the darkness. And we all have darkness at some point in time. Like it's him more so than other times. And I just feel so in tune with who I am that I'm like, I know I might trigger you, but that's okay because I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you. And I love you. And the ho'oponopono, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And just sending that energy to any person, like every person, the entire collective, especially people who hurt you, because you're severing the tie between yourself and that cord. And literally doing a cord cutting ritual. I had to do multiple cord cutting rituals with really intense soul contracts that were trying to like bring you down. And I felt so much better. Like I remember we did one, me and Cole did one for this particular situation we were going through. And it was early on, it was a 23 or 24. And where you like do the white and the black candle and you wrap we wrapped like a cord around it. You light the candle on fire, and you see the white candle stood much taller than the black candle.
Dude, I watched those on TikTok and I was like, oh.
He couldn't sleep. Cole could not sleep for like days before this because all the horrible, horrible things that were happening in our life from these people. And when we did it, he still had the baby. That's why I was like, oh, if this is all I need to do is just do a random little ritual and like set intentions and this is clarifying us and purifying us and setting us free from any dark attachments, like why the hell not? Why would I not want to do that?
Exactly. And also like below is a powerful tool. Like if you like belief is a powerful tool, you know? And a lot of times too, like when going back to like our entities and attachments and whatever, sometimes we don't want to get rid of those things. Sometimes we don't want to we need, just like people who love the chaos, like it's important that they continue to be in the chaos because they've never learned how to not be in it.
Absolutely.
Peace is scary.
I want to go back to the Orion story.
Oh my gosh, it's actually really quick. So okay, one thing you have to get done, and I'll actually give you her info, but she does galactic astrology.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's heard of it. I freaking love it. I think it's so cool. But it's called galactic astrology, and it's basically your astrology, but from a galactic perspective. So not just like the Earth. What about past lives, where you've been, where you were born, and what does this say? And I had a galactic astrology reading with this woman who was awesome, and she opened your Akashic records as well, and goes through some different past lives based on like where you are currently to help inform sort of helpful information. It's so great. It's a great experience. But she goes, and I have she's like, you're a very old soul. And I was like, how do you know? And she goes, well, you have so many placements on this chart. She's like, when people have a ton of placements, that usually is reflective of like old souls or whatever. And it was great because one of my friends, I had to run her chart, and I was like, oh my gosh, you have half as many. Okay, maybe she wasn't just like blowing smoke. But okay, so I only point that out about the number of like placements on my chart because she goes, you literally have no Orion. She goes, you have every angelic realm. You have a little bit in Syria. Like, it was so funny. She goes, I don't know how you like around it, but she's like, you have no Orion. I know because there was a lot of, you talked about this about the wars and there's been some back and forth. It's interesting because I just finished the Law of One book. And they bring up Orion a lot as sort of like a contrasting force or whatever, but like I had never heard that until I read that book, and also until you said something in one of your previous podcasts. I was like, I never even thought about it. So I don't know. I'm always like, these days I take information, I'm like, interesting, but I don't hold on to an opinion on them. I'm like, we'll see. Like, we'll put this in the back burner. But I just thought it was so funny because you had that experience in your hypnosis with Orion, which is, incredible.
It was so powerful.
So powerful. But also, like, the outcome was like, you chose love. And so that's why I'm like, I'm going to take that experience because your experience was so positive. But I just thought I don't know, it just cracked me up that it was like, she was like, and you have no past.
Just crazy because Orion is used throughout all these ancient civilizations as anchor points. Like you can see how everything aligns with Orion's belt. And you're like, it's important. There's something about Orion that's really what it has here on Earth, right?
Yeah, but that's why I say, like, let's just, like, let more information unfold and, like, discern when you need to discern. You don't have to, like, hold so tightly to a single belief system because as your consciousness expands, you need to be able to expand with it.
Exactly.
So, like, don't hold tightly onto a very specific belief system because you're not going to be able to grow and evolve if you're not allowing yourself to just expand into a new view or perception of things.
Now that we've talked about like what it was like to wake up, what it's like to channel, what and the kind of the services that you offer, what exactly is the quantum healing hypnosis and like how does it work truly?
Yeah, like if you get a session, like what's involved? Great question. It's like
Because it's so interesting.
yeah, it's so cool. So structurally, the session goes, we meet on Zoom, which I love. Some people are like, you don't have a studio. Look, I tried to have a studio in the beginning and like 95% of my clients were all online. So I got rid of the studio because it just didn't make sense. But I love it because essentially you as the client, you can use your phone, you can use your computer. You get like AirPods, some headphone with like a microphone. You can take the call from your bed. You can take it from your couch.
What I did.
Yeah. And I prefer that because I want you to be as relaxed as possible. You're not having to drive across town in traffic to get somebody's studio that you've never been to get, you just, it allows you to relax much more deeply. So we meet on Zoom and I record this session because I always say 50% of the experience is the session itself and the other 50% is listening to it.
After you.
And so we'll meet on Zoom. I kind of give you a little rundown, ask if you have any questions. We'll talk about your overall intention because your intention is what guides where we go in your lifetimes. It's where you guide yourself, like where we show up. And it's based on that intention that you bring or goal. So we'll jot that down. I'll get your questions because you'll meet with your higher self. So I'll get questions that you want to ask your higher self and I'll jot those down or you'll send them to me ahead of time. It just kind of depends on like what the client ends up doing. Um, and then we do something called a water alchemy ritual. We take your intention and we do a little um, ritual and infuse your intention into your water, and then you drink it, and and I drink my water too. So it's just really beautiful. And then we start the session, and the session begins with an induction to help you drop in. And it's just kind of like a guided meditation, and we kind of soar through the world, how to get cosmos, and then at the end of the induction, you end up somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you kind of describe where you're at, and I'll guide you through it. And I am tapping in with my gifts too. Like, there are times where I've laughed with clients and I'm like, yeah, it felt like this, or I saw this. And they're like, yeah, that's what I saw too. I'm like, yeah. And so my abilities also helps me. Like, I'm in the moment guiding you. It's not like I have a rigid structure when I'm in when we're in your past lives. Like, I'm navigating it with you. And the reason that's so helpful, because I've also had people say, well, like, why can't I just listen to this on a recorded tape? I'm like, well, first of all, when you are so present in your experience that you might be like, yeah, I'm in this podcasting room and I see a door, and I'm like, okay, well, what do you see above you? You're like, oh my gosh, it's purple. Like, you're so immersed that you don't think to do certain things. And so I'm guiding you and asking you how you feel, what you experience. Had this incredibly cool session with a client where we were in front of a house, and she moved into the house, and then like she looked to her left and it was like a normal looking house, and she looked to her right and it was just shadow, just darkness. And I was like, well, how do you feel about the darkness? She goes, I'm not really scared, because like, objectively you could be scared. So I'm seeing like, how do you feel about this before we go? And I was like, do you want to like see what's in there? And she goes, yeah, I get to. And so she walks in and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't see anything. And I was like, okay, well, how do you feel? She's like, I'm okay. Let me look around. I was like, why don't you look around? What do you see? She's like, oh, I'm in a forest. I'm like, okay. And it turns into this like incredible like journey we go on. And she ends up being like a shapeshifter. It was the coolest experience. Like, couldn't have loved walking through that journey with her. But it was really incredible, because while this experience objectively just might look like, well, okay, we're like walking through this house and da-da-da, there's so much more meaning that's happening. And I'm taking copious notes of trends I'm seeing, words you say over and over again, themes I'm seeing come up, because I'm consciously thinking about your intention and I'm seeing trends. And then as we go through different lifetimes, I'll be doing that. Then we'll kind of step out of that and move into connecting with your higher self. And you'll ask your higher self questions and answer. And then sometimes we move into a healing chamber. It kind of depends on the client and what's going on with them. Then eventually we'll come out of it. And then I like ask you, like, what do you remember? How do you feel? And then you'll share kind of in the moment. And then I'll provide you my feedback as well. Some things I noticed, some trends, some maybe themes that were repeated, or I'll be like, did you notice that literally in your first lifetime, question number 3 with your higher self was answered? And so like questions will be in. So it's just this really cool experience of like healing and deeper understanding of like your authenticity and yourself and where you've come from and your power and your gifts. Yeah, it's just like a really powerful experience.
So this is when we're tapping into the quantum field.
Yes.
And so the quantum field is everything, everywhere, all at once. And that's how you're able to go forwards and backwards. And that's how I was able to go thousands and thousands, if not millions of years ago, however long ago that was, to then the 1960s, to then the future, where I saw myself standing on stages, talking to people and inspiring exactly messages of hope. And that's what Spirit has told me is he's like, you are the Phoenix, a messenger of hope. And I was like, that's a very big weight to carry. He's like, you're going to do great. I'm like, that's terrible.
You're going to do great. Go, go, go.
Go do a podcast. And I'm like, a podcast? Oh dear. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to use my voice. I'm like, I still always clear my throat. I'm still working through my throat chakra. But I'm telling you, after I did that session with you, I can still feel it. Like I can listen to the recording, but I remember the recording. And I saved it on like 4 computers because I just nobody's kid doc it was this. And it was one of the most meaningful parts of my journey over the last few years was having that 2 hours with you. And then after we got off, we were just like chatting, we're talking, you're like, oh my God, you break this and this and this. And I was like, I know. And then every time that I've seen you, I just feel like you make me feel safe to just be me.
Yeah.
And I think like Cole was talking to you too. He's like, her voice is so soothing, so easy to listen to. And like, you help us drop in so quickly. And I thank you so much for getting past your own fears and the own darkness that was making you feel scared along the way and to call your power back so that you could be a source of light for people who were in the dark. And I hope that's what this podcast provides for people is a new alternative way of healing, is that going into this quantum field of remembrance and remembering that you're not alone, that we are all one, and that you're not suffering needlessly. You're suffering because your soul chose to experience this contrast so that you can appreciate the breadth of experiences and emotions, and that there is a purpose to it all. Even if it doesn't make any sense to you at all right now, like you're here for a reason. Every single person is here for a reason. So with that, what is something that you would tell someone who's waking up, who is walking this journey and they had no idea what's happening, or they're like a newbie and they're listening to this podcast for the first time and you made the questions and things?
Yeah.
What's your advice for them?
I would say, one, if you feel alone, put it out there that you put it out into the universe that you're searching for your tribe, for people who you can connect with. Because just like you, it's funny. So many of my friends I met because of social media. I have a whole slew of friends in the Northeast because of Instagram. And now they're like some of my dearest, closest friends. So put it out there. That's literally, I have met people in the most random ways here, you and me, think about that it's possible. So if you're feeling alone and you're really looking for community, put it out there and be intentional about it because it will happen. Just allow it to come through. Don't worry about the how. And then 2 is like, be very intentional and have discernment on your journey. Even if you've been in the awakening space for a little while, discernment is so important because not everything is aligned and for you. And just because somebody says something doesn't necessarily make it true. And so it's just really important to check in with your inner self and your inner discernment to be like, what is really supportive and aligned for my journey here and for my, goals and the direction I'm trying to go. So that's a big one.
Absolutely. And I think for people who don't know what discernment is, it's pure intuition.
Yeah.
Right? Does it feel good? Or does it make you feel afraid? And I always say anything that you experience makes you expect fear. That's not in alignment.
Yeah. Or if it feels off, trust it. Yeah. Like a lot of us are not trusty. Like they're forced it. Like, well, I didn't feel like and I'm like, then it's not for you. Like, we, especially women, have been so taught to diminish our feelings and like our intuitive wisdom that we don't trust ourselves. And so trust that you have enough knowledge and wisdom to know what's good for you and what's not. Don't force yourself into doing something that feels off but sounds good. Like, trust that it's off for you. Just trust that. Like, it's fine.
I love this so much, Lindsay. You're just an angel. I was so excited that for the world to get to hear this podcast. Where can people find you if they feel inspired to dive into the deep end?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram and TikTok, not as consistently. I'm going to get better. It's fine. It's going to get better.
You're like, I'm healing too.
I know. No, I've been on Instagram for the longest, but got really into like TikTok around January. But so everything is Lindsay Leigh Official. That's TikTok and Instagram. My website is lindsay-leigh.com. And you can connect with me anywhere like that you feel called. And I usually do small group programs a couple times a year. I just wrapped one up. But then outside of that, it's usually like one-on-one mentorship. And then I offer some sessions like the Quantum Healing Hypnosis.
Oh my gosh, the world needs more of you. I'm so excited to give you this beautiful platform because I think that this is where we step into the new Earth's healing, is going into the quantum field, going into hypnosis, going into the self, and like finally remembering what we're here for and that there's so much more waiting for us on the other side. So thank you so much for your time. I love your face, and I can't wait to do this again. We're going to do another one.
Okay, it has to do. I know. I'm like, where will we go next time?
So again, thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Light Beyond the Ashes. This is Lindsay Leigh, and she's just a powerhouse, and I'm so excited for the world to get to know you more. I always like to end with reminding you that when I heal, you heal. When you heal, I heal. And then when we all heal, we rise. We're in this together. Keep going. We've got this.